From a legacy spanning over a century, Rockland Distilleries has carried Sri Lanka's spirit to the world with iconic creations like Ceylon Arak and Colombo Gin. At the helm today is Amal de Silva Wijeyeratne, great-grandson of the founder who blends heritage with innovation. And now, as part of the groundbreaking Three Families collaboration, he's championing Sri Lanka's spices and flavors on the global stage. Let's dive into his story on Kaleidoscope Dialogues. Rockland Distilleries, it's a history of over a century. What does it mean for you personally to carry on your great grandfather's legacy?
It's a great privilege and honor, and sometimes not that easy too.
If you were looking at your business, the industry per se, and Rockland's status in it, would you change anything the way you are looking at from your great grandfather's perspective to now?
Because of the restrictive regulations we've had here in this country, it's not been easy for a spirits company. Um, but at the same time, we've pursued our dreams and passions, and that's what's brought us here. And some of them are still true to the founders' beliefs and the visions they had. Their dream was always to take Arak to the world. And even Colombo number 7 gin, which was my grandfather's recipe, that, you know, was his recipe, and we're bringing it back, and that was his vision. So the visions and the things, the thought of, and the way how we think about things keeps in our DNA, I think.
So, when you do look at the spirits industry in Sri Lanka, um, how do you see it as having evolved along the way?
I think it's evolved as the consumer has evolved and become more wanting, as they've traveled the world and experienced beautiful spirits. They wanted the same back from Sri Lankan spirit brands, and that's what they're seeing today. And a very interesting thing is during COVID, and then the economic crisis, especially, they couldn't get the imported spirits that they used to have, and they had to try the local spirits, and they were like, "Oh goodness, why haven't we done this all this time?" You know, and so I think when Sri Lankan starts believing in their own products and brands, that's wonderful to me as well, and great for Sri Lanka also. And so many people are, though, so proud of Ceylon and Colombo gin. It's not Rocklands, it belongs to Sri Lanka now, and that makes me very happy.
Silon Arak, Colombo Gin, as you mentioned, enjoyed worldwide now. What makes these spirits actually uniquely Sri Lankan in the global context?
Colombo number 7 gin, it's got the same kind of botanicals that a traditional London dry gin would have: juniper, angelica, licorice, coriander, so on. But it's also got Sri Lankan botanicals. Just like in Oriental cooking, you might use garlic, soy sauce, ginger. The trio we've used is curry leaf, cinnamon, ginger. So 7 botanicals, and we'd like to say it's a Sri Lankan take on a London distilled gin.
So, Arak, very deeply rooted in Sri Lankan culture. Now, how can this be elevated to compete globally with the other spirits that there are, whether it's whiskey or whether it's rum? What would we do with Ceylon Arak? How do we get it up there?
When think about Ceylon Arak, for me it's like tequila was many, many years ago. They didn't really know what it was, what's this curious, strange spirit. It's not a whiskey, it's a rum, but tequila is a thing by itself. Now, arak means, it's an ancient Sanskrit word which means distilled spirits, which can actually describe all kinds of spirits. So we, of course, have to say, because it's not used much anywhere else, that this arak is made from the coconut flower, the sap of the coconut flower, and that is Ceylon arak. And the fact that is unique, special, and rare also makes it something that bartenders and mixologists who are really particular want to give something that they can't get somewhere else in the bar, actually seek out and find it. And sometimes you'll find it in the strangest random bars across the world, which when somebody traveling sends us a picture, we're like, really wonder how that got there.
What role did Rockland play in actually getting the three families raged together? The collaboration, it's tea, it's spirits, and of course, it's the bartender who's the catalyst, so as in Ryan. Um, how did this all come together?
As we've been working on taking the spirits of Sri Lanka, Ceylon Red, Calamucin and the like across the world and introducing them to bartenders and trade and so on. But as we did this, we found, oh, and when you do make a cocktail or a recipe, you need to use a cocktail seasoning or a bitters from which is European based, which has European botanicals in it. And apples are very different to mangoes and papayas. Like that, they don't kind of mix. Even if you make a fruit salad, you wouldn't mix them together, sort of, I think. So, like that, when here we were taking our Asian flavors and talking about them, and suddenly they're being mixed up with European ingredients, which kind of took away from the whole idea and the objective. I mean, they were brilliant and does enhance, but I used to think, what if we had our own versions? And when you talk about things like peach and peach bitters or other things like that, it's like it inspired me to think, why not my favorite things like rambutan or mangosteen? Imagine if you give the world that, because they're already hard enough to find in season in Sri Lanka, right? But when you do, they're just so beautiful, and they are truly Asian, not just Sri Lankan. Belongs in India, Malaysia, Singapore, Southeast Asia, and those are flavors all Asians really grow up with and love. And what we were trying to do is find a way to bring them to Europe and give it to the rest of the world.
When you were putting three families together, what was the most surprising discovery you made?
One thing was how to find a bitter base that can carry all of this. And it was like we have to find something that's Sri Lankan. So contemplating this um, and getting slightly late to work, I'd overbrewed my tea. I always make my cup of tea with tea leaves, fresh tea leaves, and this time I've overbrewed it, and I was thoroughly irritated by it with myself. But I thought at that moment, wow, this is actually the perfect balance. It'll work beautifully in the project that we are working on. It was a timely accident. And so that's how the three families came, because Rockland distills and brings flavors to the world. Uh, and I thought Dilhan if would bring me makes the world's best tea at Dilma Tea. And then of course Ryan is the world's one of the world's best mixologists, and especially specifically known for being able to carry and bring out flavors. And each of these three families ranges, you might have, say, this is marketplace, and the top note is mangosteen or rambutan or whatever, and the two other flavors there. But actually, there are about 30 different flavors inside it. It is extremely complex, layer upon layer. Um, and that kind of thing, if you think about it, it's a cocktail, isn't it? And who better than Brian, who's already a good friend of mine for a rather long time now. So that's how the three families came together.
How does three families seasoning range actually push Sri Lanka's spice profile up?
Firstly, it's another place where tea gets carried to, but also it's got turmeric to rambutan to mangosteen. Um, and just more recently, how that might happen is, I think in spirits business this year, uh, they named three families among the top three most innovative products in Asia or the world, or I can't remember where it was. So that puts it on the map. And I think that alone will awaken people to say, wow, flavors of Asia, flavors of Sri Lanka.
What challenges the Sri Lankan spirits face in reaching global markets?
I mean, one thing we've shown the world is that we can make spirits and things like that as good quality as any other global spirits brand. And the fact that Colombo Number Seven Navy strength won the world's best gin means that there's no doubt about that we can do that. And when things like that happen, also it's helpful for distributors globally to be interested in our brands, in our Sri Lankan brands, but it's always an uphill battle and a lot of hard work uh, when there are powerful brands all over the world. And I think this is the same truth for any niche spirits brand in the world.
Amal, your legacy, like we mentioned, is over 100 years old. How do you balance heritage with innovation and get it out there as a business?
One thing we always do is like stay true to what we believe in as a family. And one of those parts of heritage, if you like, is also working with other family businesses who also are experts and love their craft and are good at that. And this is the second of those projects, because the first one was Colombo Number 9, where we partnered with Dilma Tea and made Colombo 9 and make this beautiful gin there. So that's part of our Sri Lankan heritage as well. Rockland has always been about perfection and craftsmanship. If we ever put something out, that's the guarantee. If it has the Rockland name or the logo with the two little men on it, you know that that comes from this lineage or this family brand, and it's going to be always quite good and might surprise you too on some instances.
What more can we expect from you?
Well, our history and our foundation, our beginnings were with Arak. And so during our 100-year visit, uh, Mr. Ryan Shetty Awardano discovered a lost cask of Arak. And that's something very, very special that people can end perhaps towards the end of this year.
From YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, on Kaleidoscope, we have stories that matter. Subscribe and follow, and don't miss out.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Ceylinco Life.